I have never been as ashamed to be a German as right now. I gotta be honest here, this whole Charlie Kirk assassination thing for the last 2 days, I've been binge watching all of the content online, and I am deeply affected about what happened. And for various reasons, I couldn't actually sleep, and I had to think about what I saw with the mocking of his death and people celebrating in such a disgusting way the death and the assassination of a man who became famous basically for wanting to reach out to the other side by being respectful and peaceful and promoting open dialogue. And I've watched his videos for such a long time that when that happened, it caught me completely off guard. I felt a lot of anger and just despair and also sadness, deep sadness, because I was not aware that this would derail because I've been running this podcast now for a while, and most of my clients are actually, or the people I interview are mostly Americans, 80%, and some Australian English speaking. And so I'm living in Bali right now, right? And so I'm actually detached from my home country. And I opened this video by saying that I'm ashamed of my home country because it's utterly disgusting what I see. And the level of dishonesty and smear and utter lies by the media. You can't make this shit up. I'm just going to give you a few examples here because, you might think in the US it's bad, right? And it is. It absolutely is. You look at those videos from MSNBC and all of the left-wing CNN, and they're quite awful, right? They're disgusting and really just being liars about the guy and telling him, calling him, after his death, he wasn't even cold. Like he wasn't even 6 feet under. He isn't even, and he's already smearing him. And then, so it's so disgusting. But in my home country, guys, it's even worse. There's this very special situation in Germany, and in Germany you actually have to pay for state media, so that you can't. There's no way to opt out. So everyone in Germany who lives there as a taxpayer has to pay about $20 a month. So these people that spread all of these lies, so they get paid, and they get paid big time. Now, it's not like they get hundreds of thousands a year, and then they're hired guns for the state propaganda, which is led by these green and red socialist thugs. And I call them thugs because they're just professional liars, and nobody buys that shit anymore, which is why the AfD has risen to the top and is continuing to rise, because it's now something really important happened, because this was really the tipping point. This was really the red line that was crossed. I feel like things are not the same anymore, really. And people understand this now, and they're still trying to spin this around. And I just saw some of the coverage in German media. It's so disgusting. They're literally in the state media telling people they just sort of swap into the sentence of, oh yeah, you shouldn't kill your opponents that you disagree with, but he's such a big racist and sexist and misogynist, and so he kind of deserved it. That's what they're actually openly saying in state media, all of them. The media, the most important papers and magazines, and also all of the big networks. And I just read an article basically that it was Der Spiegel, which is one of the worst offenders, and they were literally saying this. A guy from Borussia Dortmund, which is a soccer team, he posted on Instagram, and he said that this was a sad day, and that this is a guy who fought for free speech. And then he was forced to take it down because some fucking green lunatic said he could not be remembered because he does not deserve a recognition of a human being. So that's what they say, and then he had to take it down. And in the Spiegel, they frame it as that he was not fined. The guy was not fined for expressing his condolences. So that's how they think. They actually think that you, by supporting a guy like Charlie Kirk, who happens to be, I'm not all in with Charlie Kirk. He was 100% pro-life. I'm maybe 80% of it. I would still allow abortion up to the first or second month, maybe. That was my position, but that doesn't mean that I don't allow him to have an opinion. He was absolutely strong borders, which I also support, and I actually supported most of his positions. Some of them were a little bit too much religious, but well, who cares? But they actually argue that because he had that strong stance or some of these religious issues as well, he does not deserve to be remembered. And then it's also happening in the EU Parliament. So I'm disgusted by all of these thugs, scumbags, and like they are just the worst. They're just the worst. So I officially, and this is the first time I tell this publicly, I unregistered this week from being a German citizen. I'm living now. I opened my company in the US. I'm happy. Hopefully I can. Right now, I don't live in the US. I live in Bali for now. But I think the future is in the US. There's also high. The temperature is also way too high. But at least they have a sensible government now where they can take some actions right against this shit. Right. So because it's a difference. Because in Germany we're still fucked up, like completely fucked, because we're governed by professional liars, socialists. So they negotiate right now. They're basically trying to make a deal so that the party, the only party that has some sort of common sense left, which is the AfD, that they are trying to get a deal done with the hard left. Those are the ones that want to implement socialism and shoot millionaires, and they say this openly on their when they gather, and they say that they tell that men are just a problem and that we're somehow just to be like horrible stuff, man. And this is the type of people they make deals with. I'm so disgusted. I think Germany is the biggest shithole of Europe. Germany is the biggest shithole. It's governed by complete scumbags. They should be ashamed. They should be looking into the mirror, and I would like to. They should be spat on. Like when they walk on the street, these politicians have no spine. They have none at all, and they're just disgusting. Especially the Green Party, especially the Socialist Party. But also their so-called they used to be the CDU. They used to be conservative, but they're now just cucks, spineless, disgusting people. So yeah, I deregistered. I'm ashamed to be born German, because we are continuously produce the stupidest people on earth, like we did 50 years ago. Yes, there are some really bright ones as well here and there in between. We invent great stuff, but as for politicians, we usually produce the dumbest people on earth, and that's just a fact, right? So I see my future in the US, and that was my statement to what happened with Charlie Kirk, and to him and his family, my deepest regrets for all of that, and condolences. I'm devastated as well. I'm deeply affected by all of this, and yes, thank you for listening.